Hey, I'm Randy and you're watching The Cheap Audio Man. Here at The Cheap Audio Man, we talk about high-value hi-fi, home theater, and headphone equipment. And today, we're talking about how I turned this into this by talking about this. So, sit down, grab a cup of coffee, and let's talk about how the Cheap Audio Man channel got started. Action figures. Yeah, I know, I'm a child, but my love for these as a child actually started the channel, and it's somewhat of a long story, but I get asked this question a lot. I've been interviewed a couple of times on from Acoustics, from SVS, and I get the question, how did you get started? It all started with me being obsessed with everything hi-fi related or music related from the youngest of age. At 6, I got my first Walkman. I grew up on a farm. When my older brother turned 6, maybe it was 7, when he turned 6 or 7, he got a BB gun. And it was one of the, I guess, bigger birthdays for our family. So in lieu of a BB gun, I wanted a Walkman because they were about the same price back then. And so my parents did. They got me a Walkman because Back to the Future was out. So anyway, I was obsessed with things that made music and brought me the music from a very young age. By the time I think I was 9 or 10, I had cobbled together my first separate system, which included a realistic receiver, and I actually found the same model and bought it, a little 12 watt per channel receiver. An Emerson CD player. Walmart used to sell separate components, and Emerson was their house brand for CD players. So an Emerson CD player, I can't remember the tape deck that I had, and then a pair of Kenwood floor standing speakers that had a passive radiator. They had a 12-inch regular woofer, maybe 10, and then a matching passive radiator. When I was 10, my first CD was In Excess Kick. I got that for Christmas. And I was off to the races, and I've always had a stereo or a home theater system since then. My parents moved from where I grew up, and my dad retired from farming, and they moved to Arizona. And I was a bit fastidious when it came to all my action figures. For whatever reason, I always refused to sell my Star Wars stuff and my G.I. Joe stuff. I had Transformer stuff. I sold all that at garage sales, but I wish I would have kept it because some of that stuff is actually worth more than the Star Wars stuff. She had a box, and she dropped off this box, and it was filled with all my old toys. They were all organized, and so I had the original accessories, all the weapons for everything, a bunch of Star Wars and G.I. Joe stuff, and I thought, yeah, I'd just sell this whole thing. Maybe I can get $150 for this. And then I started doing a bit of research. I went on eBay and started seeing what this stuff was selling for. So I was like, I'm going to let the market decide. And so I started putting them up individually. And I ended up selling all this stuff. And I brought in like $3,000 or $4,000 from selling my old antique toys. Because I wanted mid-fi or even a hi-fi system. I wanted to spend some bucks to hear what all the hubbub, to hear the wonderment of expensive audio equipment. So I bought some. I found a Moon by Sim Audio. I think it's the 240i. It's an integrated amp, has a DAC in it, phono stage and everything. Beautiful amplifier. So I found that, bought it used. I think I spent $800-900 on that. And then I found a pair of KEF LS50s. And at the time, I of course was watching YouTube. KEF LS50, KEF LS50. Everybody was talking about the KEF LS50, so I was very excited. I should have seen it as a red flag because there were plenty of KEF LS50s on the used market. Plenty to choose from. So many that I found one local, and I just went and picked it up. So I got home, hooked it all up, started listening to music, and was thoroughly underwhelmed. I had purchased a Marantz NR1711, 7-channel home theater receiver. A very good sounding home theater receiver for music especially. So I had that, and I had this Moon by Sim Audio. So what I did was I did my first A-B comparison. I put the LS50s on the Marantz, and then I put them on the Moon by Sim Audio 240i. And guess what? I couldn't hear much of a difference. There was a slight difference, but not much. A little bit of clarity improvement in the Moon by Sim Audio. And I got mad. I got really mad. During COVID, I worked in a small office, so we still got together, but there's only really 2 or 3 people in the office. And I would always bring headphones, a little bit of a little travel amplifier DAC, and I would listen to headphones, had a little desktop system. And some of the other guys at work would ask me about stereo equipment, and I would corner them and hold them hostage for 10 or 15 minutes talking about everything about speakers, everything about headphones. And one of them said, "You should start a YouTube channel." And I just kind of laughed at him. I'm like, no. I mean, I watched a lot of YouTube, but I never considered starting a channel. He's like, no, really, you should start one. So that seed was planted in my head. So because I wasn't crazy about the KEF LS50s, I had also purchased the ELAC debut reference and a pair of Klipsch RP600Ms. I had all this stuff sitting around the house. And I thought, you know what? People probably want to hear what the difference is between these speakers. They probably don't want to hear from me because nobody knows me. They probably want to know the difference. These are 3 popular speakers. So I made my first video. That video was shot right here on my Android phone. I think I had my Speaker City t-shirt on. I was leaning back, no cuts, no editing. I don't even think I had an external microphone. And I talked about KEF LS50. I have to look back. I know the Klipsch RP600M. I know the KEF LS50. And I think it was the ELAC debut reference. So I did a speaker comparison. My first video that I ever put out was a speaker comparison. And I posted it. And I decided if I was going to do YouTube, I was going to do YouTube, which meant I was going to put out a lot of videos. My next video, I believe, was the comparison between the Moon by Sim Audio and the Marantz receiver. At the time, I didn't spend too much on that Marantz. I think it was $800 retail. It's gone up quite a bit since then. And the Moon by Sim Audio was a $2,500 retail integrated amp. So the Marantz was quite a bit less than half. I had also reached out to Moon by Sim Audio because there was some clicking and some switching issues with the DAC inside. I did get a response very quickly, but the response was basically, you have a high-end piece of electronics gear and you're not giving it the right source. And I was using a computer. Their fix for that was for me to download, I think it was Audiovana or something like that, and listen to my music that way. And I streamed all my music, most of it, from Amazon Music at the time. And I sent them back an email. I'm saying, so you're telling me that the only way this is going to work correctly is if I have all of my music in FLAC or whatever it was, and it's going from Audiovana. That's the fix. And the response is yes. So that was the nail in the coffin that propelled me down the cheap audio path. Cheap Audio Dude was taken on YouTube. Or no, it wasn't taken on YouTube. It was taken on a Google account, Gmail account. Cheap Audio Dude at Gmail was already taken. Oh, okay. What's a synonym of dude? Man, Cheap Audio Man. Okay, that's available. So I grabbed it, created the channel. Cheap Audio Man. That's about how much thought went into that. And here we are today. The sponsors, the coffee, the tagline, binge, listen, and fill your soul with happiness. That all just happened. But the channel was really started to... I wanted to provide information. I wanted to give people my take. But I also wanted to inject some fun into this hobby. And I have somewhat of a dry sense of humor. And back then it was really dry. People didn't know how to take me because nobody really watched. So a lot of folks did not understand me or the channel. My first fake sponsor was Salazar's Fine Wrestling Implements. And I put on one of those pro wrestling masks. I'd gone to Mexico. This was probably December of 2020. And I put it on, and people legit thought that Salazar's Fine Wrestling Implements sponsored the video. And so I started doing fake sponsors because I thought they were hilarious. I did a fake sponsor on the SVS Prime bookshelf where it was some type of audiophile window cleaner. And what I did is I took some blue Gatorade. So I rinsed out the Windex bottle pretty well. Maybe not so well. Maybe that's what's wrong with me. I rinsed out the Windex bottle and I put blue Gatorade or, I don't know, blue Tropical Punch in there. and I drank it on on camera. There was a bit that David Letterman did years ago with Chris Elliott where he drank some turpentine or something. Obviously, it wasn't turpentine. And some people that got it thought it was funny, so I just continued on. The whole time I was putting out as many videos as I could. And at the time, I had a full-time job. I also have 4 kids in the house, so I was very busy. Obviously, from my production value, you can tell I didn't spend a whole bunch of time in the editing and lighting part of it, but also that was a joke too. I talked about putting lamps on trash cans to light myself. So the whole thing was a kind of a goof. I just wanted to see if people would watch, and if people watched, I'd keep doing it. I think I committed to 3 or 4 months of doing this, and I think I was doing at the time 4 to 7 videos a week, and people did watch. And I started the channel October 19th, 2020. By December 6th, I had 1,000 subscribers. And then the month of December, I got a lot more subscribers. January, a lot more subscribers. And I was off. I was buying everything. Everything that I reviewed was stuff I already had or had purchased for the channel. Being the cheap audio man was what I believed personally, but also was somewhat out of necessity. Because I could either buy one $500 speaker and review that, or I could buy 5 $100 speakers, compare them, and review them individually. So some of this was just from a practical standpoint that if I wanted to make 5 videos, I should buy 5 $100 bookshelf speakers. And it wasn't that this was some type of crazy strategy. This just made sense in my head. Plus, not a lot of people were talking about really cheap stuff. So that's what I did. I restarted reaching out to companies, and I think Emotiva was the first company to send me something because I had already purchased the TA100 and I purchased the Denon PMA 600NE. I compared those two. I had purchased the at the time the mini amplifier. It's kind of like the TA100 but no DAC, no nothing, and it was a smaller form factor. I'd purchased that, but I reached out to them and asked them if they would send me something for review. And I don't remember exactly what that product was, but they were the first company to send me out something to review. Also at the time I had started a bit called Between Two Speakers, and that was when kind of a complete and utter ripoff of Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis. And my first one that I did was with Ron at New Record Day. And then I did one with Joshua Valor, Doug over at DMS, and actually Steve Gutenberg. People also didn't know how to take that either. But I got to know some of these guys, and really it was a big thank you to Ron, because Ron knew these other YouTubers. And by Ron saying yes, and then people seeing it, and then other people saying yes, it kind of, I wouldn't say gave me legitimacy, but at least got me a relationship with some of these other YouTubers, which in turn led to introductions at different manufacturers. My first big product review was the Polk R100s. Ron got a set, I believe Joe and Tell got a set, Sean at Zero Fidelity got a set, and I got a set. And I was the low man on the totem pole at the time as far as subscribers, view counts, and things like that. So I was emotional about that because I've loved Polk for years. I have Polk RTI, the whole system, up in my son's room right now. I got emotional because I felt like, oh my goodness, I'm real. I'm a real YouTuber that Polk is sending new products to. And then I just kept going. I kept making videos. I kept building relationships with other YouTubers and manufacturers and getting more and more products. And then manufacturers started reaching out to me once the channel got to be a certain size. So that's my story. And I want to just thank everyone for watching the channel. It has been the most incredible experience. And I want to thank all of the other creators that have helped me along this journey, because you have been so kind as well. I'm not going to name people by name, but folks know who I'm talking about. But the response I got from the channel was overwhelming. I didn't think I would get it. And it has given me a life that I didn't think was possible. I was actually texting an old work buddy of mine, and I just thought to myself, how awesome is it that I don't have to deal with all that BS anymore? This is the greatest job one can ever have. I'm the luckiest guy on the planet, and it's really because of everybody that has watched the channel. I don't know how this video is going to go over because I'm not talking about a specific product. But since I've been asked multiple times about how I got started with the channel, because it's a little bit different than other people's channels with the jokes and the skits and things like that, I thought that maybe other people would like to know. So consider subscribing and turning on the bell notifications, whistles, bells, pans, pots and pans notifications. Check out some of the other videos. I have a bunch of them out there, over 400. I don't know exactly how many, but there's a lot of them. I'll put some links in the description about things that I like, that I'll put my name on as far as like I stand behind this product. Those are affiliate links. If you click and you buy through those links, I will get a commission. You can also sign for Amazon Music or Tidal Music. Links in the description. Click on the links, sign up. Even if you quit, even if it's for a trial, I still get a couple of bucks. So, don't binge watch anything on Netflix or Hulu. Binge listen and fill your soul with happiness. And with that, I'm Randy. I'm the Cheap Audio Man.